So when you get your computer going, you want to connect, get you on the Wi-Fi, and then we'll have you join the meeting.
Should we have gone over the minutes and all
We're not starting yet. I just want to make sure Allison's
that?
ready to go when,
when.
yeah, connected. So,
Chester Public or Chester TO?
no, you should try, just try, that town hall upstairs.
Allison, what is AICP?
Let me in too with a capital L.
American Institute of Certified Planners.
Oh, thank you.
Good. And then if
We
you-
love acronyms.
I've had several jobs, including the one here where I've said, would you like me to be an AICP? And they've said, no, don't bother.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people who are AICPs. It's a rigorous program, but it doesn't really help with Vermont, put it that way.
You need something more urban before it's useful.
Hey.
Long time ago.
Okay, Sue, are you on?
She's muted.
Yes, I am.
I think you're the host, so I'll just ask you to find the gadget that will allow anybody to share their screen.
Okay.
Probably not.
Agenda?
It's probably in the,
Oh,
it is
just
in the agenda, but
okay.
it's also on the webpage too, so. Once we make sure you can get connected, just join without your audio.
Recording in progress.
Now, I'm ready, ready.
Yeah, okay.
Agenda. Okay. Oh, you actually have to, not just mute. You have to join and say no audio, like when you join the meeting. And if that doesn't work, you can,
Oh.
you can leave the meeting. Oh, no, it's no worries.
Hey, did a guy named Barry Miller ever get a hold of you?
Audio.
I'm sorry?
Did a guy named Barry Miller ever get a hold of you?
No.
Yeah, he's a well drummer, I know.
Yes.
He asked me about you. It's
Correct.
Yeah, I'll avoid the,
The feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, when she tries to do this again, we'll.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't been in my shop for the last month.
Okay.
I broke the stone. All right.
Okay, I think we're ready. We don't have any feedback. We're good to go. We've got everybody here, so 6:32, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to reorganize the planning commission. And for that agenda item, what it really entails is two things. We have to nominate and elect a chair and a vice chair. So I will entertain options to nominate a chair.
Let's nominate Hugh Quinn for chair.
Second.
Any other nominations for chair? Okay, well, Hugh Quinn has been nominated as the chair, so now we'll take a vote. All in favor of?
Aye.
All in favor of electing Hugh Quinn as chair?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The next item is to nominate and elect a vice chair. I will nominate Kathy Hasbrook.
Second.
Any other nominations for vice chair? All in favor of electing Kathy Hasbrook as vice chair?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. So that takes care of the basics of getting us reorganized. Fairly easy this time because the members are all same as last year, and so that's great. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for the December 1st, 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Kathy moved, made the motion, and Scott seconded the motion. Does anybody have any feedback on the minutes as drafted? I have none. All in favor of approving the minutes as written?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. The next thing is citizens' comments. If there's anybody attending the meeting that would like to make a citizen comment about something that is not on tonight's agenda, now would be the time to do so. Citizens' comments? Okay, agenda item number 4 is to review and adopt the Planning Commission rules of procedure. You should have gotten those in your packet. It's fairly straightforward. It's a 4-page document. It's effectively unchanged from last year. So does anybody have any? Well, let's see if anybody wants to change anything. Is everybody okay? Do we need any discussion on our rules of procedure?
No, I'm good.
Okay, then let's
I'll
get.
just comment that when things are going well, you never think about a rules of procedure, but when things go bad, you wish you had
To
them.
have it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so can I get a motion to adopt the rules of procedure?
Move.
Jeff made the motion, Kathy seconded the motion. All in favor of adopting the rules of procedure, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, that's done. I will, since I have most of you here, might as well just make it easy. We'll send this page around for signature. Today's what, 16th? Yes.
We're green, huh?
Send that around, Kathy. Bring it back. Who's got the green pen?
That's my pen.
There you go, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, even though it says review and adopt the conflict of interest, it's not really adopt, it's a townwide policy. So really, this is just an awareness for the planning commission members that the town has a conflict of interest policy, and as a member of a commission, it's appointed by the select board. We're bound by the conflict of interest policy, so everybody has a copy of it. Everybody should have read it. And if you have any questions or don't understand it or you want to discuss it, now would be the time to do that. Any discussion about the town's conflict of interest policy?
Just going to be a little, for those of us who are active on social media like Facebook and various town pages, with some of the things that are coming around the corner. It's just going to
We
mainly not speaking as a planning commission member. We're making it very clear that you aren't. That's pretty much going to be the big thing.
Yeah, and that's not really, so what I will say is that's not really addressed so much in the conflict of interest policy, but in the rules and procedure you just signed, there's a social media policy which leaves everybody the latitude to say what they need to say as a citizen. Just make sure when you're making comments that you're not attempting to in any way represent the planning commission. So sometimes it's just really clear that your participation in social media is as an individual, not a member of the planning.
Expressing certain opinions about certain things, though, can come around to bite you in the hiney as a conflict of interest later.
Well, yes, I wouldn't rule that out. The conflict of interest policy is fairly narrow in as much as, conflict of interest by this definition really means that you have to have effectively some kind of financial gain to yourself or an immediate family member that puts you in that position. So, generally speaking, while a lot of people sometimes talk about things being a conflict of interest, it's not really officially a conflict of interest many times because you don't have anything to gain financially, nor does your friends or family. But if somebody could draw that conclusion, then there's always a possibility. Okay, anything else on, oh, go ahead.
You heard me say, Scott, on the DRB, that the safe thing to do if you ever think you have a conflict is disclose.
Yeah.
Just say,
Yeah.
I'm talking about this guy and he's my cousin. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I always like to tell stories. My wife's on the school board in Woodstock, and they had a school board member who's intense about his athletics. And was at a game, and he got the face of one of the refs, and who's a school employee, and said, "You have to listen to me because I'm a school board member." And the school board said to him, "Do that again, we're voting you off." Yeah. So you don't want to do those things.
Okay, any more discussion on the conflict of interest policy? Very good. The next agenda item is really what we're primarily here for tonight, which is a town plan update kickoff presentation. Before we get started, I'll just provide a little bit of context. Pass and jump in if I get off track here, but we're getting ready to make the updates to our town plan. Town plan, I think, expires in 2028. We applied for and were awarded a municipal planning grant to help us get that work done, and we've kind of enlisted Mount Scottney Regional Planning to help us make it happen. And Allison Hopkins is a director of the Regional Planning Commission, and she got the lucky job of helping Chester kind of figure out how to get our town plan tuned up and up to date. There is another resource from Mark, who may or may not join tonight virtually, Helen Appleton, who is going to be doing a lot of the mapping work and maybe some planner work. We could probably share more about that, but without any further delay, everybody, this is Allison. She's going to take us through material that's related to how we're going to get started on the town plan. So hopefully you can just hit the share screen button,
yeah.
bring up your PowerPoint, make sure that works.
This is the hardest part of planner's job description.
Yeah.
That was at the end. There we are.
And you'll see, we know it.
You might, if you don't, you could do slideshow if you,
Yep, I can put my.
unless you think that'll make it hard for you.
I always anticipate this, so I put the side notes down
Okay.
here. So if you see me reading here, it's my remember from the slide, but it should. Slideshow isn't playing, or was it?
Slideshow button. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, the thing is, oh, you can get that far out of the way.
Move that out of the way.
Ah, nice.
And now I wanna. I'm gonna try one thing. Let's
Okay.
just bear set up slide.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not work.
I'd make it easy.
If no one minds, I'll just minimize the notes so it's easier for you to see, and we'll just get going with this version, do you think? Okay.
You
Um,
could try, you could try F5. Let's see that. You got nothing to lose, right?
No, that's it. You're eating.
Okay,
Control
good.
F5, Windows
try it.
F5. No?
Whatever, I was just looking at the keyboard shortcut for
Hmm.
slideshow. Carry on, we can see it fine.
Okay. Okay, thanks, hi. So I'm Allison or Ally, either one is fine, whichever's easier for you to remember. And then Kellen Appleton is a planner in our office. She'll also be working with you. As Hugh said, she's one of our GIS specialists, so she'll be doing, which is great because there's a lot of Tier 1B, Act 181, Home Act pieces that will go into the mapping discussions of your town plan update. So it'll be great to have her as a resource. And she'll also be pulling a lot of the data and demographics to be presenting to you. So you'll also see her. She had a conflict this evening. She is moving from the Planning Commission to the Lebanon City Council. So there was a conflict in the times, but she might be able to pop on just so you can put a face to the name. And you will, I believe, have her at the next meeting because we're going to kind of hop into the data. This is, it looks like a lot of slides. You were sent it first. I will try, I have shortened it, but if it's still too long and I start to go on and on, just give me either a signal or just enough is enough, cut it, let's move on. And it's meant to be a primer sort of for why are you doing what you're doing, what goes into a municipal plan, what's the reason for it, and what's your role, basically.
And do you want us to save all our questions for the end
No.
or per slide?
I think just if you have questions, hop in and we'll, as a trio and as a group, try to address them as they come up. I think that's probably the easiest. So, right off the bat, what is a municipal plan? Basically, a municipal plan describes your community as it currently sits. Those pieces under the slide you will see, sort of what do you have now and where do you want it to be? What do you envision your community to be like? You can think of it sort of as a roadmap getting you from point A to point B, and that you've laid that out in your town plan. You've assessed where you are and you've envisioned where you desire to go and how you would chart that course to get to the future. There are many benefits to having a municipal plan. One of them got you this municipal planning grant, the MPG that you have. You have to have a town plan in order to apply and be successful in getting that money. But towns are not required to have them. But when you do, you get this whole list of benefits that we see under this slide here. It really, the capital budget, Julie uses that, other folks, your departments, it has to be consistent with your town plan goals and policies. Practically, what does that mean? It helps you guide investment priorities and justify your spending decisions when you use the capital plan in conjunction with the town plan. Act 250 applications have to be in conformance with your town plan, so that's Section 248, you get to have due consideration given to your municipal plans. You can't outright veto any 248 certificate of good applications that come in, but you do have the right to say how they line up with your town's plan.
That means like solar arrays and things like that.
Yeah, good point. 248, again, a lot of acronyms planners use. If there's anything that I'm throwing out there that you just let us know.
Well, I think so, cell towers too.
Cell towers do go under, even co-locations to those towers, upgrades to the towers, fencing, all of that. They do come through. More minor, but it's usually the larger solar projects that towns tend to look at. And along with the municipal planning grant, it really is when you can pull lines out of your town plan, when you're putting in grant applications, it really does make for more competitive grant applications. Whether it's hazard mitigation money for resilience, which is a big piece in Chester, or yearly municipal planning grants, they really do like that you can pull out policies, goals, objectives from your town plan that really beef up the application.
And I guess the only thing I'll add to this part of this discussion for me personally is, or not personally, but from my experience so far being on the planning commission and whatnot, is oftentimes, you know, if you're trying to advance something in one of your regulations, like your bylaws, and it's not supported by something in the town plan, or it's in conflict with something in the town plan, then that can sort of jam the works up and slow things down. And in other cases, when you really want to go ahead and do something, like advance something, and maybe it's not a regulation, but it's just something that, you know, as a planning commissioner, one of the other commissions is trying to move forward, oftentimes people will want to refer back to the town plan to see if it's part of the vision or the goal. And if they say, well, it doesn't look like that's really something the town cared about when they wrote the town plan, then that can sort of get in the way. So to the extent that the things we want to do as a town are reflected in the town plan, and the things we totally don't want to do are not included in the town plan, as long as they're not regulatory or whatever, then we should kind of gotta make sure we.
So would a quarry fall into this? Maybe I would have solar arrays, I would imagine electrical infrastructure.
Quarry digging or, that would probably.
Torturing your neighbors, let's be precise.
Yeah, it probably had well, maybe, it would fall under the Act 250 application, more than likely.
Yeah.
And expansions to, or, you know, even changes in powers, timing, those sort of things.
They don't generally mention quarries in town.
Well, I don't know.
We're just a little sensitive to that word right now.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I could imagine is if your town plan, you know, spoke about, you know, the future of the town and land use and whatnot, and it all looked like it had nothing to do with anything even remotely related to quarrying, or it said, you know, I don't know if I would ever see a town plan, you know, our future is we don't want any quarries in Chester. Not sure I would ever say.
When it's done right, it's not an
see
issue
that,
for people.
Right.
but,
You know, we don't have to get stuck on quarries too much, but I will just say that until we had the poorly behaving quarry, there were people that actually were a bit proud that we have a strand of granite here that's very attractive and fairly unique, and you know, so it'd be kind of nice at town plan to say there's some historic quarrying that we support, but it has to be done responsibly.
And correctly, yeah, because I could see that in your earth extraction, you
Yeah.
know, under your natural resources, you want to point out that, you know, granite is a resource, and
Most of this was just because certain people weren't paying their bills to proper removal. And when you remove properly, you hear for a second and a couple of tumbling rocks instead of months of pounding with the next. So it was really more about improper techniques disturbing lifestyle.
and so many issues that we start to think about or are usually were precipitated by something like that.
Yeah,
And
if we start to
something
punish
that's been
industry
noticed,
because of bad actors,
then
we're
you
hurting
wouldn't have
ourselves.
any. But there are ways, 'cause, you know, going all the way back to point 8, there are ways to talk about it in the town plan without directly finger pointing and.
But it would be there to hopefully influence activity.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is just an outline for people like us, correct? There's sort of a primer, a guide.
Yes, yeah, this is there is, you could go, I mean, I think when we started, how many slides was it? And then you shorten it and you shorten it, you really, you know, it could be a presentation the whole evening.
Would it be okay if I gave you just a little feedback
Yeah.
about the actual
Oh, yeah.
piece?
Please.
You're probably just aware, as the rest of us, how polarized Vermont is.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when you look at page 10, it's wonderful. When it comes to planning, if you're not doing it with people, they think you're doing it to them.
Mm.
And it's very smart, and it's true. But what I noticed here, for instance, on page 5, consider how growth and development affect community resources, including natural resources, infrastructure, long-term sustainability. These outlines, if they just had things like cultural history and lifestyle,
Mm.
if those words were in there too, it would raise that sensitivity. The planning commissions across the state.
Right.
Because that's important, and it's not in here anywhere.
Mhm.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, that's great.
And it follows through to the following page, vibrant community. Nowhere in there is our history and our culture
History.
represented in a circle. And if we just present those things, it makes us look more enlightened. People will feel less threatened. Just a thought.
The actual, again, I think that's all great. Our current town plan does have a.
It starts, yeah, right off with
Right off
with
with
history.
a history.
Yeah.
So we'll just,
But these
Yeah, they-
outlines go out to planning commissions across the state, and
Yeah, they're quite canned, they're quite, and this is, actually it's relevant to the slide that we're on. So you look at this slide, there's 11 regional planning commissions, which are helping then all of those towns that you see go through these 3 mandates from the state. So we're all individual, we're all part of the same state, but you're also all individual towns, and that has to be realized. But you have to follow the same process, goals, and elements that anyone getting a town plan put through the process has to go through. So there is a bit of, uniformity, conformity,
Right.
but then you also have chances to have your individuality as a town shown as well. And that's kind of the message, actually, that was a really good tip to that slide. Just a little bit of those, that slide before had the 3 elements and processes and goals that you want to go through, but there is, a very specific process. This section of law basically says that planning should be ongoing, it should be community-driven process. It becomes a framework that helps guide decisions about growth, development, public investment, and it also emphasizes involving residents, coordinating with neighbor communities, and then Mark and your other regional planning commissions. The process, especially as mandated by statute, is just as important as the product, sort of that line down there. After drafting and incorporating your public and regional, getting all that public and regional input and putting it into the town plan, the commission will formally recommend the plan to the select board for adoption, and ultimately they will adopt the plan by vote, but the planning commission owns the process and the content development through the way. This slide shows 14 bubbles, 1 for each of the state's planning goals, except new since when you last updated your plan, town plan, is Act 181 has added another goal. I need to read it verbatim so I get it. Well, adds goals into your existing goals, and it's to equitably distribute environmental benefits and burdens as described in 3 VSA Chapter 72. So it's a little bit of digging. And then oftentimes goals have sub-goals, you'll have A, B, C, D under that one main header of a goal. So they can grow.
Equitably distribute environmental what's?
Environmental benefits
Mhm.
and burdens.
Okay.
And then it goes into further description in 3 VSA Chapter 72.
I won't worry about that.
Thank you.
That one I can just,
So you have to figure out how to create a bubble for that?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like,
You,
I'm
you made
listening
this
to what
chart
you
and now
said.
you have to add in a new bubble and
You
then
have to
there's
make the two
sub
bubbles
bubbles
Oh, the bubble.
basically
Okay.
under those goals.
Got it.
Equitably distribute environmental benefits and burdens. You can fit that in a bubble.
You can put that in the bubble.
If you make them all 13% smaller.
Yeah, and so if everyone really
But it is,
hopefully has
it is
their,
true that when they keep adding elements, you're like, because everyone's a
they're
chapter.
just, yeah, another chapter and
The
our
town
goal
plans
is to
get
synthesize these
fatter and
town
fatter.
plans and
Yeah.
who's reading them.
Yeah.
Those are discussions, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like yearly, but they don't come up. So the two yellows that I've highlighted there are compact centers and growth areas and safe and affordable housing, because Act 181 also made changes to those two goals. So
Okay.
there's kind of
Mhm.
sub colors under each of those. Next slide, this has your 12 municipal planning elements. Here too, we've got some highlights, number 2 and number 9, land use and housing. Because again, Act 181 and the Home Act made changes to the requirements for these two elements. The housing element is now required to include specific actions to address housing needs and housing targets. The housing targets have been worked on and identified by the RPC statewide. If you haven't seen them,
I did see
do
that.
you? Okay. We have been trying to make sort of a town by town sort of show introduction
Mhm.
to those. So hopefully those have made it to Chester.
Well, I went to a mark like, could have been like a 181 update sort of thing. And that's where I saw the housing targets broken. There once was housing targets, for the region, and then they got broken down by town.
Town by town. Yeah.
And so there are housing targets specifically for Chester. And I did say, do those housing targets need to be in your town plan? And the answer was yes, they need to be in the town plan, so.
Under 9, housing, including target. So we will certainly, when
Yeah.
we go over, your demographics and data and all of that, we'll take a close look at what that housing element looks
Yeah.
like for Chester and actually how that gets moved into your housing chapter.
Yeah, the only thing I'll kind of add about that discussion just broadly is that, one of the things that I also heard was that I understand the housing targets, I understand generally the sort of the criteria that went into establishing the targets. And most of the targets, are thought about with respect to areas of town that are served by water and sewer, generally. But at the same time, another like statistic I heard was something like only 2% of the land in Vermont is in those areas that have water and sewer. So there's just, like, if you look at the state, across the entire state, if you said that this is how many houses they need, there's absolutely no way they can all be created within those areas. So at some point in time, and it doesn't matter whether you create the housing in that area or not, you create a housing in the rural areas, it still counts. But it just doesn't feel like there's much being done, at the state level, for me anyway, to help people solve problems for housing in areas that are not in the,
Connected to infrastructure.
even though there's no way that you can meet those targets just in the infrastructure serviced areas. So somehow those things have to be reconciled. So,
Trouble is, being in water, wastewater for 35 years. That they haven't done enough to keep up the utilities. They're not where they need to be to add all these housing. That's where the problem is.
Yeah. I would say we did take it, I don't know if they went into, if we had it really dialed in when we had that presentation. We were trying to take it a step further to start looking at capacity. What is the actual capacity based on what those targets that we're looking at? Because that's a very real question. If you say, just using round numbers, if you say 100, oh, you're gonna have 100 targets, but there's only capacity for 5. You've got a bit of a
And unfortunately, the fix is very expensive.
That's very.
It also ties your
Very
hands,
expensive.
Hugh, if the vast majority of Vermont is rural and there are policies coming down from Montpelier that are making it harder for people to build in rural properties without 250 kicking in. So they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with some of these things.
Well, yeah, that's possible, for sure, you know, at the end of the day, I think, you know, as much as everybody would wish we could just create all the housing we need in the compact village centers, the reality is you can't, and the other reality is not everyone wants to live in a village center. And so if you actually, you know, to your point, Scott, if you actually, if state regulation actually does things to make creating housing in rural areas harder, then they can do that. But, you know, somehow they'll have to reconcile competing goals. If a goal is to create more housing, but another goal is to not fragment the rural landscape, you know, those two objectives need to be reconciled somehow.
There could be a 15-acre plot where you need an 800 or 900-foot driveway just to get up to the one place where the house is, and 250 kicks in, and no one's gonna want that plot.
Right.
Is, the plan they announced earlier, is that, well, that where they're gonna put money, the state is putting money towards infrastructure in the towns?
Chip.
That chip,
Mhm.
yeah, that's beginning to address that issue.
In all of the chip presentations that I went to, it basically said you will never get, it's almost impossible to get a chip project off the ground in an area that does not have water and sewer, because you can't get it to pencil out. And at the end of the day, chip is a loan, so the town's gonna have to pay it back with the grand list growth. And, you know, if the cost to do the project
It's
can't be
not
recovered
a
through
loan
grand
to
list
Construct housing, it's a loan to construct.
infrastructure.
infrastructure.
So, yeah, I mean, if somebody argued, yeah, we should try to figure out how to use chip to build more capacity into our water and sewer infrastructure, then I think everybody would say that's a great idea. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a project that will actually increase the grand list to pay that money back, then you're probably not getting the chip grant. So anyway, sorry, kind of went off track a little bit.
No, these are all parts of the discussion. Okay. So just your plan already, we've done a quick review, we're still doing a review, but you have compatibility with all of the elements, except for some of the updates to the elements. So it's not a significant, it's not like we have to add in these new elements. Sometimes people look at this and are these all new? These are all existing,
Yeah,
they
so
just
that's
have to
good.
be updated.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, nothing, you know, historically new here.
Is the enhanced energy plan beyond what we did maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
It is a living sort of in conjunction with the town plan.
Mhm.
I don't think that
Okay.
yours is like an appendix to the town
We
plan,
updated,
right?
Added whatever. to
Yeah,
the energy chapter, but this would be a separate document.
Oh, you do have an energy chapter, but I think your enhanced energy plan is
Something
a
else.
separate, I think it is. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't, yeah, that's like a question. My voice made it sound like that's a question mark question, but I believe it's a separate document. Mhm.
And then it'll get incorporated in,
Yeah.
to this new plan. And I guess I'll just say, hopefully quickly, that you highlighted land use, but we did a lot of the heavy lifting with the zoning bylaws. We got well ahead of the town plan.
Yeah.
And we're fairly, I think, happy with the zoning, so now the town plan just catches up. But
With,
I don't think there's a whole lot we want to change.
Right.
okay, where to start? This guy had a nice, you know, friggin' guy in the slide that I took out. But really, this is, while it has a step 1 and it goes through the steps, it is a living, breathing sort of circular process. You can jump around to the steps. It's not meant to be restrictive. It's meant to be sort of fluid, provide a framework, but it really is, we like to start sort of with your assessment of your community. Where are you now? Where would you like to go? That really drives the process of the town plan. And then the other steps fall into place as they are shown here. So what does that look like to start? All the towns in our region have an existing plan, so you already have a lot of the data. It's just potentially outdated depending on when they were done. At a minimum, you'll want to update it and think about what changes mean for your community. Sometimes statutory changes call for additional data that you may not have in your existing plan, like Act 181 and the Home Act, requiring that more detailed housing data. But these are all pieces that Mark will assist you with. We're really good at sort of digging into where you were at the last town plan, right, and where you are now, and sort of showing you that those highs and lows and what that means, and then we can go into that. What is that data showing us? We've looked at this sort of, but like you said, and I'm sure you see it all the time, more than we do sort of at the regional commission, especially when things are bubbling to the surface or there's something you see. If you're talking, somebody thinks you're sort of doing it without them. So a big part, and it was written really strongly into your municipal planning grant application, was the community engagement piece of this town plan, really making sure that you are trying to reach out to the community during the whole process. And what does that look like? It looks very different depending on how you do it. It used to look very different, even just, I would say, like 4 or 5 years ago. It was really stick up, 12 fonts, black and white, stick it in 3 places, your town hall, the post office, maybe one other place in town. And if someone happened to see it, that's how they got notice of a meeting, and that was their opportunity to come. I think nowadays we have a lot more opportunities to engage and to reach our citizens. Inform, we like to say, is sort of a one-way street. You're sending out the message, newsletter, websites, flyers, postcards, front porch forum. That's really where the information is coming from the planning commission. You're not getting the information, but those are really great ways to inform the public. If you want feedback, you'll need to provide some way for people to tell you what they think. And then for back and forth dialogue to occur or to focus on a specific issue, there's other options that you can do as well, like that bottom piece, the mini charrette there.
More people are finding out about things on town Facebook pages than they are any other way.
Exactly. And, there's chats and community forums now that people get
Just
quite
turn off the
engaged
commenting
in.
and
So
tell people where to
Tell
go.
people what's
Unfortunately, a lot of
happening.
misinformation gets mixed in with that.
Misinformation is a very,
Yeah.
I wish our town
Very-
page was just no commenting, just information.
Well, the struggle for me when I think about sort of the part of the process where we're soliciting feedback from the citizens or the community, it seems like, people love to, well, I should, maybe I'm not right on this, but sometimes it seems like what people want is to see something in social media and be able to respond to it as a way to provide their feedback. Now, maybe you're getting the vocal minority, I don't really know, but I know that sometimes if you have like a workshop or something, trying to get people to actually come in person and plug in and have thought about it and provide, guidance to the planning commission about where they want to go also seems like very difficult. So
It is.
I don't know
The
how.
trouble is, most people, probably 90% of it is not conducive, not conversation, it's not a question or whatever, or a comment. It's somebody being smart
Yeah.
or not really a productive portion.
Yeah.
They almost, a lot of people almost feel like voicing an opinion, sometimes an angry one, whatever it might be, that they've done their part. Whereas if we had if every town had just this is the informational, where you come here to see what's happening and where to go, no comments, people wouldn't have a chance to vent and they'd show up more to the workshops.
Maybe, I don't know. So,
Possible.
It is possible. You're
Hard to
right.
know.
It's usually a lot of discussion around like a hot issue or a centralized issue. And when it's a meeting in general, it feels a bit more diluted. I think
Yeah.
maybe people feel like they have, a stake in a very specific issue, but not the entire issue at
Right.
large.
Yeah.
So it is quite hard. One piece, because you're not the only, I mean, we've seen this across the board. They're seeing it statewide. Meetings are very minimally attended. We really are trying to shake it up a bit. A lot of it is going to the people, meeting people where they are, even at the transfer station.
Mhm.
People are at the transfer station. Is it at the post office? So we really are trying to think about different ways to engage and encounter people, but it is tough. That's really what these next two slides
Mhm.
are about. When you want that back and forth, if you're not getting the people to come and sit in the rows of the seats when you're doing some of the basic advertising,
Yeah.
some of those mini engagement sessions you do are really going to the people where they are.
Yeah.
Maybe getting 5, 10, 15 minutes on, is there a regular event that's happening? Hey, can we come in and can we get a few minutes and piggyback on your event as opposed to having a planning commission type event?
Do you think do other towns, you suppose, ever try to leverage, for example, maybe an agenda item on a select board meeting? And the only reason I say that is because I think at Chester, more people are tuned into what's happening at the select board than they are the planning commission. Like the planning commission is not that interesting to a lot of people, but the
Sure.
select board may be a little more interesting. So if there was ever an agenda item on a select board that was something related to, I don't know if you can do it, but have you seen that done in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, that's a creative, I feel like that's almost a wink, wink situation. You would have to have it as a joint, you would have to hear it as a joint public meeting.
Yeah.
But if you knew that there was, I almost want to say, like a salacious item on the agenda that is going to have people coming out, and you knew in enough time to warn it correctly that you were
Yeah.
having a joint meeting. I can't think where I've seen that done,
Okay, so maybe it's not. the
but
best
joint
idea.
hearings are allowed as long
Yeah.
as they are
When they're worried.
when they're warned correctly. I mean, yeah.
The planning commission had a lot of attendance a bunch of years ago when you first brought in that consultant and were trying to do the.
Yeah.
bylaws. The place was
There
packed.
was,
I was impressed a year ago, they did an open house for housing.
Yeah.
But instead of it being a meeting, it was being an open house. You could come between like 2 and 5, and they had storyboards and people voted. Had over 100 people come, and I really think it's because people are afraid to come to a meeting because they think they're gonna get
they get
trapped
stuck.
in
That's
this boring session.
agree with
great point. I actually
And
want to
so-
put open house on this.
So the open house is,
Forum was, that's,
Yeah.
that format you're saying was.
yeah,
really
because
good.
people could come and go as they wanted.
Yeah.
They could be quick, they could take longer, they could talk, they could not talk, they just.
You're right. We're working with Ludlow and Cavendish
Yeah.
on a flood resiliency plan, and we've done open house style in Ludlow.
Mhm.
And we did have a steady trickle of people that just came through and that, they would bring their children in tow, pop in for, even if it was just 5, 10,
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes, but they engaged with the poster boards and then they left. If you have 20 minutes to drive by, I think that
Yeah.
is better than, maybe thinking that you're in a 2-hour meeting.
Some
Yeah.
folks have 2 jobs, and when the kids are home, they need to be home.
Then you
with
have
the
to be
kids.
home,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So
so the open house style might
Open
work.
house is, let's.
And then what they did with the housing is you didn't have to necessarily, like have a great idea all thought out and written out. You didn't have to answer there was like, if there was a way for somebody to see or read something and let them do the housing commission, they use little stickers to say we either like it or we don't like it,
Like, yeah.
so,
Yeah.
we did not have a housing commission in effect at that time, did we?
no.
We actually did. It's just that we'd hired, was it SK Group or, and they did,
But the commission that
Posters.
we have now, that was recently formed.
No.
after that, and
it actually was in existence, but still, I think SK Group did the lead.
Things about those open houses is there's no pressure. People can come
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And they're much more free to share what they're thinking. It's a really great learning opportunity
Yeah.
for the commissions and other committees to
Yeah,
really get a heartbeat of how people are feeling, because they're not gonna do it with the cameras
You
rolling.
may
Yeah,
not
you're
want to
right.
raise your
That's right.
hand and have everyone
yeah, that's
hush
true.
and,
So with that being
that's-
said,
yeah.
the whole select board thing is a non-starter, because that ups the pressure
Yeah.
of
You're in front of
participation.
both the
People who are
board.
Yeah.
members of families or
Yeah, forget
employed by
that.
the school district, so they are afraid to speak.
Yeah,
I mean,
all that.
yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. This was just an example, like you say, this had childcare. It was, which is a really big one. Like you said, people are, after a lot of the meetings are held in the evening, people are doing dinner, bedtime dishes, and
Yeah.
it's not, they don't have the
Yeah.
time and the luxury
The
to
idea
come
of
out
getting
to a
back in your
meeting.
car and going somewhere else after a hard day.
It's very, in the winter, in the 6 months of darkness, it's
Yeah.
tough to get back out there.
It was May,
This was a successful,
Friday afternoon.
yeah, successful one in Reading, just
Wow,
just
yeah.
neighbors right over. Yeah. But I think that childcare piece was sort of the big one that allowed people
It
to
might
show
not be a
up.
bad idea for us to just keep that in mind. Anytime any of our boards, committees, or commissions have changes coming up, just to automatically throw out an open house. Because we'll all learn a lot more that way from people. And we won't have to go asking them to be involved.
There is a certain amount of heavy lifting to creating attractive.
Yep, something that
Storyboards or
engages,
whatever
'cause
you
you don't
want.
want to, right, you want to have a few
Right.
successful events at least up front so that
Yeah.
people come, they feel, because if they start to get diluted, I think then they might trickle off a bit. So it does take a bit, because you want to have that food for thought piece, whether it's those little dots. So
Yeah.
you have to already have that
Or you
planning ahead of
just bring
time.
pizza, see?
Well, food, that's the number one bullet up there.
Well, you're-
Food is always.
Cider donuts.
Yep, cider donuts, dessert, candy for the kids. I mean, yeah. But the open house, I mean, it really is a nice idea. It just takes quite a little work up front. Where are they? Oh, I'm well past, didn't even look at any of these. These are all 14, 15, 16, I think, are all the sort of pouring notes. So what goes into your town plan that you already do have, so these are not, this is nothing new. You identify goals and objectives. Those goals and objectives have to line up with the 15 state planning goals. They have to address the 12 elements that we've looked at, and then they have to be reflective of your community's shared vision. Priority actions, implementation, you want to make sure your town plan is implementable. They don't have to be SMART goals, but we just like to put that in. They do have to be, you want to put implementation items in that are actually actionable, that you can look back at and say, who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? And then that you can look back and track progress on.
So I'm gonna say, and I haven't looked at our town plan probably in 6 or 7 months, but I don't remember seeing anything actionable. Is there actionable stuff in our
You
current town
have an
plan?
implementation
Okay, maybe I
section.
probably didn't read that part then.
Um, Whether.
I mean,
Okay, but it's in there then.
there isn't actually, that's a required element, is how you're
Yeah.
gonna implement it. I tend to think that our current town plan is pretty stodgy, but before we make that decision, we'll have to look at it again.
I think there's some really strong pieces in the town plan. Yeah, I think there's some strong language, but yeah.
Okay.
Everything evolves. But one of those might be, a stronger implementation section. Okay, towns and cities can access additional benefits if the town plan has been approved by the Regional Planning Commission and the planning process itself has been confirmed by the Regional Planning Commission. A municipal plan is approved by the RPC if it's consistent with the statewide planning goals and elements, and if it's then compatible with our regional plan and the plans of your neighboring municipalities. You've done that in the past. It's never been an issue. looking at sort of the future land use map and 181, and that compatibility might be a bit, we may have to work with neighboring municipalities a bit more this go around. But otherwise, I don't see any issues.
Suppose, my understanding, Allison, is that when the legislature went from 5-year to 8-year plans, they said in 4 years, the regional commission is supposed to assess the progress you're making in implementing your plan. So you do have to make sure it's not all blue sky.
Yeah, because you don't want, 8 years is considerably long time that you can
Yeah.
just write it, forget it, and then, what was this? Dust it off 8 years,
Still goes by
6
quick.
years later, 5 years is fast, 8 years is even faster. But you do want to be able to look and say, what are we getting out of this town plan? What are we using for? How can we evolve? So what does all of this, now that we know what goes into town plans and, why we do them, what does this mean for sort of the grant that you have currently? It is a 18-month grant, but some of that time has gone by in just the execution of the grants. I mean, months just kind of, like you said, fly by. So we're sort of less than a year out now. That grant end date is December 31st, 2027. In the grant application, these primary focus areas that you put in here are housing, land use, flood resilience, economic development, and natural resources. I think Chester's with your economic development committee, your housing commission, your tier 1B application, your expanded neighborhood development area. I could go on and on. You have so many things going for the town. It's really quite remarkable. And I will say, just in many meetings that we're in, especially housing meetings, we're saying, look at what Chester's doing. Look at how Chester's doing it. So you should pat yourselves on the back, pat the town on the back. There's really a lot of things that can go into this town plan and really work for the community. Let's see, community engagement. So that was a big piece. It's not always so pronounced, but that open house style, there it is. And we put in there up to 4 pop-up engagement events. So that's sort of meeting the people where they are.
Yeah.
That can look at, and as planning commission members, when you're out and about talking to folks, just as long as, right? Are you wearing your planning commission hat, or are you not wearing it? Are you doing it as a quorum? Not allowed. Just keep those things in the back of your mind when you're out and about talking to citizens, but not
We're supposed to have hats?
Yes, that comes at the next,
I
that
didn't
comes
get
at the
that.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that first piece that we'll be working with you, we already talked about, is sort of that data and demographic review. We will do likely a mini SWOT analysis with you all, so we can sort of look at the strengths, weaknesses of the town, so we can all be on the same
So what
page.
does SWOT stand for?
Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats.
Okay.
So when we do it, we'll go into, because sometimes there's a little bit of, what's the difference between a weakness and a threat? And they really are internal versus external. So we'll go into explaining that before we sort of get into the exercise and what that looks like. But no worry about that until April and May. And that's sort of the early part of our visioning, our early visioning. Yeah, that's true. So it might be your later April meeting. Yeah, or maybe even looking into May. We'll look at the
Yeah.
calendar and how that.
Yeah, I think probably got something kind of already locked in for the April 6th meeting.
Okay.
It's not this, it's other something else, but after that, we can prioritize this work in terms of our meetings going
Yeah,
forward.
I think that works because, the every 2 weeks is hard
Yeah,
to fill in, especially if we're going to do like a data heavy
right.
presentation. So we'll look at the late April.
Well, in addition to Allison, I'm hoping to do a fair bit of writing, and of course, Hugh is also very immersed in this, so.
Yeah, that's a perfect tease up twice tonight. Right here on my next asterisk is that you'll be working heavily with your town staff, that we're sort of while we're here, you also have a very engaged town staff, community, all of that. So this is not driven by Regional Planning Commission. We won't ever be telling you this is what you should be
Right.
doing and like a hierarchy process. That's not how we work. And then those other pieces, but this really brings us, I mean, we'll be working together, whether it's a fluid month-to-month calendar or what that looks like, but really up until next winter, through next
Yeah.
winter on updating this town plan process. And it will look however the town would like it to look. And then that sort of final, we do have to backtrack sometime from the end date and to get through the adoption process, because sometimes that does take a bit of time. I think I'm
Right.
jumping ahead. Yeah, because that's sort of what is your role? What's the role of the planning commission in all of this and the next step? And sort of right up there in bold where I was getting head, where it's not the RPC leading the process. We will never tell you what to do. It's not a hierarchy. It's your staff, town staff, and then really your role is sort of to be that working group, to bounce the ideas off of, to make sure everyone's headed in the right direction. And that, namely, you approve of the process of what's being written, because in the end, you will be moving as a board, as a commission, to recommend to the select board that they adopt the town plan. So you really have that ownership over the town plan. We don't
Yeah.
want to get to the 11th hour and have someone, say, wait, you three wrote this and we didn't get a chance. It really is a back and forth fluid process. I think that's the whole piece.
What is this
Questions?
last page that says the 3/17/26
Oh, what have I
planning
done?
meeting will discuss, and then all of bullet lists?
Oh, yeah, that's Preston's item.
Oh, I was like,
That's
did
not you.
because there's many versions that
No,
this
no,
slideshow.
no.
I noticed that you thought we were done, and I knew there was.
No,
like,
you're not done.
Sick.
We're not done. I threw another piece of paper into the packet.
You fed it through the scanner so that it looks like it's part of the slideshow. No, that's my creation, and quite frankly, I just thought it would be good to stimulate discussion because, we all say we want to attract more young people, we want to attract more families. We know that housing and schools are pretty important, but I just made up a list of things that from skimming the internet of other stuff and just, to what extent can we say those things in a town plan? Which ones are
Well, you
worth even
successfully
trying to
made me
say?
feel old, because I have no idea what a robo-taxi is.
Oh,
Oh.
You do too.
No, I don't. I live in the woods. What
it's the driverless taxi.
To automate.
It's Elon Musk's, driverless taxi.
Well, when I
No
was in
driver
New York,
required.
a lot of the taxi drivers would pass out while they were driving.
Yeah, I know.
Is it the same?
And I noticed Kathy's already made plenty of notes,
Oh,
so.
wow.
I just don't see robo-taxis in
No.
there.
Yes, sir. No, but they are.
I will say that they say Vermont's gonna be one of the last places to get robo-tax,
I
just
certainly
because
hope so.
the back roads can't handle it.
I don't see a robo driving
No.
down
I'd
my
love to see
muddy
a
road right
robo-taxi
now
in
with
one
the,
season.
yep.
Right?
That would just be,
The micro transit,
yeah, that's
I know there
already.
are people that wish there was Uber and Lyft in Vermont, and some places there is.
Yep, some of your
But-
neighbors
The micro
have micro
transit
transit.
is, Springfield is trying it, but it's a bus doesn't have a scheduled route.
Oh, boy.
You call in advance and ask them to pick you up at a certain place.
There have been challenges, I've
I
heard,
think.
to-
Oh, I would think so.
Except, and the users that may not be able to have an app that,
Yeah.
schedules the.
But I gotta say, I know you've all been through this. I went to get my car inspected, and of course, if your brakes need to be replaced, you have to put rotors in, and then it was one of the wheel bearings was starting to make a noise, so it's like $1,600. I can pay $1,600. A lot of schmucks can't, and they just can't afford a car. And I do really feel for that.
You gotta remember, we live in a town where you can't even get Chinese food delivered, so robo-taxis sound.
I will also say, our current town plan is just black print on white paper, and I printed this off from Jericho just to say, if you want to see color, I'm not saying that's necessarily what we do, but I mean, it can be very different.
I hope I have that in there because that was a big piece of your application.
Yeah, I did say we were gonna try to be,
Design and concise
Yeah.
and
Make it
that's
as-
another,
make it as readable as possible. So,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, thank you for, 'cause that was,
Some people edit them like a magazine.
yeah.
This one is, it's 2 columns, a little bit that way. But yeah,
Yeah, and so I guess when I look at this piece of paper here, without going, line by line, the way I thought about it is, as a body, we're gonna be trying to envision, with the help of the community, what Chester should look like going forward. So if there's things that we think the town wants to strive for, or the community, provides us insight that they want to go in a certain direction, then we need to be open to it. And to the extent that it somehow finds a place into the town plan that provides some backing when it's time to try to figure out how to get funding or do a thing or not do a thing, if it's in the town plan, it helps. And the other thing is, and Ally mentioned this earlier, we're going to reiterate it. When this is done, this will be a document that the planning commission will put forth to the select board. So what that means is all the planning commission members have to understand it, they have to support it, they have to be on board. Not that we're all going to agree on everything all the time, but I never want to be like, as a chair of the planning commission, I never want to be in a position where something gets put forward and then somebody's like, yeah, we put this thing up, but I didn't really like it, or I wished it had this or that, or I'm talking about you guys, not the community.
Yeah, but there's
So-
gonna be a very possible chance that one person may not agree with it, but that's why you have a quorum, right?
Yeah, and so, I don't know how this works exactly, and I understand that not everybody agrees on anything.
Just be
but-
respectful about it.
But when the body votes to move something forward, even if it doesn't go your way, you gotta kind of get on
Not-
board.
Don't be a sore
It's-
loser.
Don't be a
Just-
sore
yeah,
loser.
exactly,
Support
right.
the process and the product so that we don't create unnecessary division within the.
I mean, if we can't disagree, then why are we all sitting in chairs?
No, I
right?
want people to
That's-
disagree, so,
Right.
just not all the
Well,
time.
I guess one example, not that I want to bring up controversial things, but the state wants us to focus on flood resiliency, and we said we would. And in my opinion, that covers a lot of things, but, there's been a strong feeling that River Corridor, the state designated River Corridor, is something Chester does not want. So, that's one of those things we'll have to finesse in some way. Just because it greatly expands the number of properties that are subject to extra rules. So we'll have some issues.
I want to point out that Julie was talking about reviewing what the town spends money on over the summer. And wanting to discuss it with the citizens in general. Do you want this service? Do you want this program?
Yeah.
If we were at those meetings, that would help a lot. I mean, it doesn't quite fit our phase 1, phase 2, but it's still, it can be flexible.
Yeah,
about
that's
phase 1,
the
phase
whole point.
That's a great,
That is a good idea.
that's a great point.
I like that.
There is a saying that your budget should reflect your values, and in
Right.
reality, a lot of times it doesn't. You end up spending a lot of things that isn't rated high in your values, but Julie gets the complaints that, the police are too expensive. Okay, what do you think? Should we have less police? I mean, it's just, I think she wants to have that conversation.
Right, and we spend a lot of money on recreation.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't know if we spend a lot of money. We spend money on recreation. We have a full-time recreation director. He works hard. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
And yet, like on the little list I made, trying to attract people, I mean, having things like a pool and a disc golf and
Mhm.
those are considered to be things that would make them want to move here.
Yeah, we have so many amenities for a community of our size, and I don't disagree that they cost money, but I mean they're assets, right? And I think that some of the work that we're doing on the Economic Development Committee is going to try to explore how do we get a higher return off these assets. So instead of taking money away from it, how do we encourage more people to utilize it? How do we publicize it more? How do we get more foot traffic so that, I mean, Chester's amazing. Like it has so many good things going on. So I think more people knowing about it, there'll be a stronger appetite to keep what what we have whenever people are aware of it.
Hey, Carl, I have a question for you. When you were looking around, you had a real estate agent showing you homes, correct?
We had 5 because no one wants to drive more than 15 miles in any direction.
How many of those 5 told you about the Pinnacle?
Uh, None, but it was listed. We looked at the house that was really about a quarter of a mile away from the Pinnacle, and the listing agent for the property that we had seen, told us about it.
And the 2 that I talked to 10 years ago or so, nobody mentioned it to us. And so you got a lot of families, you talk about school populations, and they're not telling people about that Pinnacle. Maybe that's something the realtors could be like, hey, talk up what we have to the people.
Maybe
who are coming.
we need like a family pamphlet for Chester.
Maybe.
We have a hiking trails pamphlet and a walk around Chester pamphlet, but maybe a family kid-friendly
I
pamphlet.
would say that if you had 5 agents and none of them mentioned it to you and they knew you had kids, that's a little disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? By the way, Carl, I'm glad you jumped in because I think we need to sell ourselves better. And much as the pamphlets are great, it needs to migrate itself into a nice quality website, which is, means someone takes the time. The other thing, Carl, is that the Economic Development Commission is talking about doing surveys as well. So we just don't want to stumble over too many surveys.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna just jump off of that, Preston, based on what Carl said, which is, one of the things that we'll do as a planning commission somehow is cross-connect with economic development and housing commission, to gain as much information. These commissions that are already focusing on certain areas that are probably part of our town plan anyway, we should mine those groups for whatever they feel is going to be important going forward and make sure it gets reflected in the town plan somehow. So
Maybe I think that probably would be some planning work we could do in the planning commission, is looking at all those circles and figuring out which nodes they more align to with that
right.
coordination.
Yeah.
So Kathy, what are some things you wrote down?
Right. Roller derby.
Roller derby.
Okay.
You did not write down roller derby.
My niece who
I love that.
came out of
I
her
think that
shell.
was
We had Malia, do you remember Malia in our office? She was a planner with us maybe for a year or 2.
Yeah.
Would have been-
No,
Malia, she would travel to
Yeah, they go.
somewhere in New Hampshire
Yeah.
to play roller derby, and it
Wow.
was quite, I mean, the way she talked about it, it was
I mean,
quite a gathering.
Yeah, they're very excited and lots of
I
women and their young women and
Yeah.
their families and boyfriends and
I will say, when I put this list together, I searched some places online. There were questions like, what a town should attract young people. Bowling alley kept coming up, and I thought bowling alleys were passe. I thought they
Right?
were.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, so I mean, roller derby is not too far away from that.
Well,
Yeah,
don't we already have a roller derby of sorts with the Democrats and the GOP lately?
kind of feels that way, doesn't
Not
it?
on roller skates.
Oh.
Let's put them all on roller skates and
May
see
as
what
well
happens.
be.
So other things I wrote were well, I don't know how we would do this, but if behind the elementary school and behind the fence that ends the elementary school playground is this really cool stream that is so much fun to play in. And it's obviously you're going to be crawling under or over a fence, and people apparently don't want you to do that, and whatever. But can't we find a few places like that can be accessible? You're sort of what we have is good river swimming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. The access via Rainbow Rock is not easy, but it's there. Across the river, it's flatter. There's almost beaches. They change every year as the spring flood reshapes it. But can we use that a little more?
You'd have to, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to ask the town attorney if promoting those things makes you liable for the people's safety.
Well, I mean, they've obviously been through it some already because there's signs that mark Rainbow Rock and things like that. Yeah, we could talk about it,
But that's also the conservation committee when we talk about the different, groups that we can tap into that could help promote or, what funding they need or, organizing. Sorry,
No.
my dog is barking. I hope you guys don't hear.
I wondered what that sound was.
That's Mr. Barnabas, and he's being pushy.
It was coming through as a little, but anyway, I can also tell the story that good old Barry Pinsky came in. He always has ideas. And he talked about this. There's a piece of town old wetland across from where Ricky Coombs is there on 103. And he says it's got the loudest peepers he's ever heard anywhere. And he said, make a platform out there and advertise to people at certain times of the year they can come and listen to peepers because most downcountry people don't know what they are. And I kind of said,
So we don't-
What?
we
Who knows?
An actual peeper?
We have peeper
Peepers? Peeper.
I will say that I have a friend who's a serious birder. He follows birds, and certain communities will have public land and they will advertise what times of year certain birds can be seen. And what it does to the economy is those people who come up stay in hotels and eat restaurant food and
Maybe I could charge $20 for 15 minutes for people to listen to my stream gurgling.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, I've driven all the way up to Virgins to watch snow geese. Like there's a spot in the Dead Creek Wildlife Preserve where the snow geese will, if you can figure out when that's gonna happen. It's kind of cool.
My daughter is going to be doing the town hall this Sunday where she's going to be giving a talk about saving the salamanders. That could be some sort of ecotourism.
So it's just every town. I've said this a lot, maybe you've heard me say it, but I mean, for years and years, Vermont sold itself on antiquing and looking at cows and looking at pretty leaves. And those things are all, well, the leaves are still there, but the antiquing and the cows are gone. And every town has to kind of come up with something unique.
I would say the cows are not gone, but they're less common.
They're
And but there are some interesting cows out
Yeah.
there, cows from Scotland.
Right. But it's hard to know
Sort
where
of a
you could,
niche cow, I would say.
It's
That's
hard-
a group
it's hard to
that
know
is.
where in Chester you could direct someone to drive by and they would see it and they would
Area.
see some cows.
11.
Popple Dungeon. I mean, they've got those beautiful Highland cows up there.
Okay.
Other-
I'm sitting here smiling because I grew up here.
Yeah.
And all the stuff you're talking about is stuff we used to have.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
It's all gone
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
People coming in and changing things. And now we want it back.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be that easy to get it back.
No, it isn't that easy.
Replicate what
No.
the original.
You want it back by slapping a self-stick maple leaf on it. It's not the same thing.
The other thing that from this list was like multi-purpose things, like if you build, for instance, an indoor play area, it's big enough you could have the roller derby there. But I don't know where people bring their kids for gymnastics.
Can I make just I'm sorry if this is,
But I think we can.
but all these wonderful ideas and what Jeff just said.
Yeah.
As long as we make these decisions based on who lives here.
Yeah.
Not because it's fun for tourists. Let's make it about
Right.
us. Let's make it about our people. Whatever we decide.
Well, there's kind of,
That's all.
yeah.
more genuine. It's a lifestyle.
When I said something about attracting people, I was thinking attracting people to come here and live. I wasn't thinking of just tourists, but still, yeah.
But even attracting people to come here to live, I think our primary
Yeah.
job is to make the people who live here have
Yeah.
a better life and.
Yeah.
And not overlook them.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are planning and they're overlooking who's there and they're thinking, who can we get to come here? When you got people here who aren't being necessarily recognized. Or their lifestyle is antiquated to you, or you feel like you're more smart than they are, and know better than they do. So you write a bunch of stuff that ruins their lives. I'm sorry, that's, I think, important for us to think about.
No, it is. I know Bill Lindsay was on the Housing Commission for a while, and he's an older gentleman. He was saying we do need to bring young people in, but we really need to take care of our seniors because they don't have a place to live either. So, I mean, you kind of need to do both. Unfortunately, there are some seniors living in big rambling farmhouses that are just collapsing around them. And if it's by choice, that's fine, but I don't know for all of them if it's by choice.
Well, I also learned that there was a program that you could rent out rooms for, those seniors in the rambling farmhouses that need a little bit of extra help. You can,
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the folks around here are pretty proud.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
but it's a win-win though, right? Like they get the hours and somebody gets a roof over their head.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll say, Scott, in response to your comment was, in addition to making sure the work we do serves the people that live here, it also needs to serve the people that we would like to come live here. Because if we agree that the town is, I'm just gonna say this, everybody says, Vermont and a lot of Vermont towns are full of a bunch of old people. And we gotta figure out how to bring some new blood in that wanna actually raise their families and live here and work here.
We've been
So,
zero growth for over 100 years, right?
yeah, and I'm not saying it's an easy problem to solve, but if we solve the problem just for,
It's about balance.
Yeah, it's
And
about balance.
It's also in the presentation. A lot of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Pharmacy belongs on this list. Even-
Well, yes.
Yeah.
People will say, well, that's an old person's issue, but you're a young mother and your kid's got an earache. You don't want to drive to Bellows
I
Falls.
think
to
if you
get
Or
have-
her.
urgent care,
Maybe
like where's the
Yeah.
closest urgent
Also-
care?
oh,
I
yeah,
mean.
totally.
Yeah,
A pharmacy would be great.
I think there's a chunk of space in the Ellsworth clinic that isn't being.
Well, speaking of pharmacies, I can remember when we had Bill Hale, the old pharmacy. He knew everybody who walked through that door and all their problems. And he was a great guy to talk to. That's one of the things that we'll never
Yeah.
get back.
Right.
So, and I agree, our pharmacy is something.
There was a pharmacist in my hometown of Woodstock. Believe me, they're not there now, but when our kids were little, he came out of home and unlocked the pharmacy to get some stuff for our kids. That's not gonna happen nowadays.
The changes we're looking at, they're happening all over the country.
Yes.
It's,
Well, and there's a lot of effort to basically make pharmacies online. But again, that's not gonna help you when
No,
you need
right.
something for your child or yourself
Right.
immediately. Yeah.
and so. Well, you said that Woodstock finally got,
We did. Smiling Steve out of Rutland did open up a pharmacy in the basement of the health center. I did say, gee, Steve, Chester would love this too. And he said, I got a store in Springfield. It's just too close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that store?
Really?
It's-
No.
The shelves are empty all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there.
they
They
moved
did.
to Chester. They got plenty of pharmacies in
They
Springfield.
concentrate on just pushing the firms. Yeah. But, no, I know this has nothing to do with really what we're talking to, but I never forget a story that my father told me, talking about how people coming out and helping you. Back when he wanted to put automatic milk, not an automatic, but a milker pump in the barn. He got word to the banker, and the banker came right to the barn and said, what are you looking for? And what do you want to do with it? How much you need? At the time, I think it was $130. He needed them $130. He said, stop by the bank and fill out the paperwork tomorrow.
Wow.
You know, that's what I say. A lot of people don't understand the way Vermont used to be.
I know.
So, and that's what I miss,
Oh, yes.
the way people took care of each other. But
When I have, friends who ask me, because I'm not from Long Island. I grew up in Wisconsin in cornfields over my head, but I lived on Long Island long enough.
Mhm.
And they'll ask me, well, what's the biggest difference between Long Island and Vermont?
Yeah.
And I had to come up with something. And I wish it would, I hope it stays true. I said, well, you know, when somebody slips on the ice in your driveway on Long Island, before they get up, they take out their phone and they call their lawyer. Right? I said, when someone slips in the ice on your driveway in Vermont, they go like this and make sure nobody noticed.
Yeah.
And that's the Vermont I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
Hey, put that in the town plan.
Okay, anything else? Any more discussion on this topic? I have one homework assignment, which is, and if you don't have it, I'm happy to get it to you on the town website, but we can print copies if you want. Between now and when we meet again on the town plan work, you should all get a copy of our current town plan and get comfortable with it, read it. It's not that long. As Preston said, it's a little dry, but you know, as just preparatory work, everybody should be familiar with sort of the as was, I guess it is, as was. Since it was done in 18 or something like that. So
seems like I remember.
So it would have been in the 5-year cycle still. Yeah, right.
I thought it was
I have it
2017 or
open 'cause I've
18.
been reading it.
Yeah.
May 6, 2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay.
So it is 8-year, but it's 2020. I thought it was 20.
Got it. Okay.
I thought it was
What's
8-year.
that
I
last
mean, it
cycle?
started in
Like-
2018.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
I'm sure you did.
Maybe.
Certainly, actually.
You have to. People don't believe it. I say you have to start 2 years early
It
because
takes
Yeah, I'll
about
send
3
everybody a
months
copy of
just
it.
to get to the adoption
Yeah.
phase, so if,
you've got to go through planning
Longer.
commission hearings, select board hearings,
I think I
approval by
remember
the regional commission.
two separate efforts, one to add an energy chapter and one for some other economic development code. You know, there were two separate, like, major additions to the plan. And, you know, some adjustments, some minor stuff, but I think they tried to update some of the statistics. But there were two separate rounds of changes.
Okay.
And one of them was changing the organization of the plan.
Oh.
You know, you'd sit, either you list all the goals and actions in one place and the discussions somewhere else, or you know, it was all not, it wasn't really shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic, but in some ways it felt like it. It wasn't a major change, it was just reorganizing.
All right. Anything else?
Other than our next meeting and, well, of course, you gave us an assignment, so we have one thing, yeah.
Assignment. The 6th is going to be a meeting on Act 181.
Okay.
And review board folks. I think I'm going to dedicate the entire meeting to that topic because I think there's plenty of people who are going to want to talk about that. So our next meeting would be the 3rd Monday in April, whatever day that is. Is it the 20th?
The 6th, and then 14 days later is the 20th.
Yeah, we should probably try to Allison, between the three of us, come up with if there's a game plan for something to do that meeting. Like,
yes, that would be
Okay.
April 20th.
yeah.
That's still break week for, I just my kiddos, I might be away, but Kellen could,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
figure
we
that
can
out.
figure it
ahead of
out. We can figure it out. No.
How many kids do you have?
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you in person and appreciate your help.
The setup, I mean, all the things that Chester has now, I'll be saying, you need to now go look at their online setup because it's the clearest and the
Yeah.
audio.
Everything's working.
Looking at this looks really great.
That was hard coming. We had a setup before this that was not working.
I don't
Okay,
remember
a
ever
lot of
having any
times-
issues. What do you mean?
We had one DRB hearing and it was
Ooh,
sad because we had a
2 hours?
room full of people and we had to basically tell them to go home because we couldn't get the system to work.
Speaking of room full
It
of
was
people,
awful.
are we thinking of doing 4-6 upstairs? 'Cause
Uh,
you're gonna run out of chairs
I
there.
don't know.
You have
I
a
don't
lot
wanna
of
do
people
that.
worried about this tier 3.
I wondered if it might have to be upstairs too, but we can.
I don't know
You,
that I
you
can-
want people to come. You want people.
I'm just saying, the way it works upstairs is you get Evan Marks. No, Evan, what's his
Evan
name?
Parks.
Evan Parks, I was close.
Close.
You get Evan Parks to come in, help get all the tech up there working, because it's all different. So,
I just
you know.
know there's a lot of people worried about their land and this and that, and it's a chance to probably put a lot of that to rest.
Yeah.
And I would tend to think we would want to invite as many people as possible to make our lives less miserable later.
That's
Just
an
a
option.
suggestion.
yeah, it's an option. We'll see.
I'd hate to see these chairs get filled and have people come and not be able to be in here, that's all, because then they would feel excluded.
Well, when you come around,
And then we say yes and 4 people come and we're upstairs, so you never know.
Yeah, so we'll see. It may be more important to us than we think. In other words, as much as there's a lot going on, you don't really notice. It'll be interesting. They're having whatever regional planning group that like Grafton is in, whatever that other region is.
Wyndham,
Wyndham.
right? Yeah.
They're
Wyndham.
having a meeting, they're having a Zoom only meeting tomorrow
Ooh.
on 181 with the same land use. Alex Weingart is doing a meeting for that regional planning group tomorrow, Zoom only. no
That just
in-person.
seems exclusionary to me, because there's a lot of people who don't have Zoom.
Yeah.
And I think that we're supposed to be encouraging the community.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it in person and Zoom. So, okay, so that's the 6th. And so I think we got a plan. In between now and the 20th, we'll come up with a game plan. Okay, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
Jeff made the motion, Kathy seconded the motion, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody.